Two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but today we are finishing up our month of chosen Universal monster movies. And the film that was chosen today was chosen by our good friend Jacob here. So why don't I hand the mic over to Jake here, and why don't you tell us exactly which movie you chose?
Very good, sir. And this was an example where the dice was in our favor. So I guess it was good that we had a very focused theme this month. Because last week we covered The Mummy from, I believe it was 1932, thereabouts, early 30s.
32.
Yeah, and so tonight we will be covering a film from 1999, directed and co-written by Sommers, and this is also called The Mummy. Of course, a loose adaptation, reimagining of that original film. The brief description on IMDb is: at an archaeological dig in the ancient city of Hamunaptra, an American serving in the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakens a mummy who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long-lost love. So, those of you who joined us last week at least know a lot of the names and some of the plot of this film, because they did borrow certain elements. The basic skeleton of the plot of a mummy.
Intended.
What's that?
I said, when you said basic, the skeleton, I said no pun intended.
And
Indeed, yes.
Ardok Day is no longer the mummy. He is actually
right. We'll get to some of the differences as we go, but the basic similarities, we do have a former priest of the pharaoh named Imhotep, who basically was given a traitor's death and burial, partly due to his affection for a woman named Anaxinamen. And centuries later, he is awoken and wants to bring her back to join him in the land of the living once again. There are some other, Dave just mentioned Ardeth Bay. He does reappear here, but in a very different way from before. And there are a few other nods to the original, but mostly this is a very much a very loose adaptation, a reimagining that takes this in a whole different direction from the original.
Practically pretty much like a whole different genre.
It is. It's an action-adventure film, really. It has horror elements.
Comedy.
What's that?
Comedy as well.
Oh, it has a lot of comedy, too, definitely. In fact, I'd forgotten how funny this movie is. But anyway,
Yeah, me too.
So we will go ahead and do a quick round the circle. I'm going to start, I guess, to my right. We'll start with you, Kroll. This is, I guess, from what you just said, not your first go around with this movie. Is this?
No.
What were your first impressions with it, and what are your overall thoughts?
Well, I watched this about when it came out. Wasn't at the theater, but I did see it when it probably going to came out on video. I don't know exactly, or cable or something like that. And as well as the other movie, the second one, and Scorpion King and things like that. So I've been following the franchise. I really love it. Well, the first time I watched it. I love it again now, and it's funny how the movies that you talk about where you love, you're like, oh, I love the Mummy, and I even said last week, when asked what was our favorite Mummy movies, this was mine. This was my pick, as well as the second one, and the whole thing, um, but yeah, I've like I said, I've loved it then, and but now watching it again, it's been a long time since I watched it. It almost felt like it was like the first time watching. I mean, certain things I kind of remembered, maybe not specifics, but the gist of things that happened. I definitely remember the scarabs. I don't think I can forget the scarabs even if I wanted to, and trust me, I would like to. I do not like the scarab scenes, especially I think the end one probably one of the worst. Scarab scene. I'm not a big bug fan. I'm not really afraid of them, just not really a big fan. And the scarabs, the way they burrow into you and eat you alive from the inside it's just really freaking creepy. And it's great. It's really it's great to watch and horrible to watch at the same time. So I wouldn't call it scary, but definitely like ugh, type. That's how it made me feel. But I love the action. I love Brendan Fraser here. I loved his stuff when he was younger. He's doing stuff again now. He's older. And it's still great stuff. He's still pretty funny. Doom Patrol. He's great. He was great in that. Unfortunately, that's another thing is getting axed. But yeah. The girl, Rachel Weisz. Yeah. Yeah, she's also great.
Nice.
And Weisz. Okay. Well, just like you actually pronounced the Nox Moon wrong. You said Mon. um, but
Yeah.
it happens, right?
What happened?
I said it happens.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the story, and yeah, it is much different than the original. But yeah, like I said, I like it more. Not just because of the action, just the story itself. I just they just told it a little better, I think. Um, and you get a better picture of what was going on. You definitely feel bad for the mummy. Even this version, um, at first, I mean, there becomes a point where okay, get over it, dude. And you're trying to destroy the whole world because you want your love back. That's wrong. But he fell in love with her. She fell in love with him. She was probably a slave girl, or she had no control over the pharaoh picking her as a wife, like none. You know, so it's not like she was just cheating on her husband. Like she never, she probably never even wanted to marry him or anything. It's like her feelings had no control over what she had to do. That's just the way things were done. She had no control over that. And she fell in love with him, and he fell in love with her, and it was forbidden, and they got caught, and he had the worst
Right.
punishment you could possibly imagine. So you could definitely see, why he was the way he was, and he was being chewed alive, and he's down in that casket for 3,000 years, and the way they make it sound like he was like he knows he was there for the 3,000 years. It wasn't like he died and didn't know. It seemed like he knows that he was being tortured being mummified for 3,000 years. So that would, anyone would wake up pissed off with that. So
Yeah.
as well. So you definitely can see the villain side on this one. He's definitely 100%. He's definitely a villain, but he definitely has a villain that you can have feelings for, that you kind of feel bad for. He was definitely wronged. His love was wronged. They were wronged. But it was just unfortunate, but still doesn't mean you take it out on the entire world. When you have a bad day or a bad 3,000 days.
Sometimes all it takes is one bad day.
Sometimes, because I think he had 3,000 bad ones. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my impression on it. And like I said, I love it. I love the series, and it's great.
Well, all right then. Sorry. So, Forrest, is this your first go around with this movie, and what's your take on it?
No, it's not. I did not see it in theaters when it came out, but I did see it when it came out on video a few months later. My parents rented it from Blockbuster, and I think up to this point, I had not seen the 1932 Mummy yet. I was like 12 years old at the time, but I thought it was pretty. But I thought it was a pretty fun. But I remember thinking it was a pretty fun action adventure film. Brendan, and at that time, Brendan Fraser for me was coming. He's coming out of George of the Jungle. So I kind of at this point I kind of just knew him for comedic roles because George of the Jungle, Airheads, and this was something of a change of not change of pace, but it was different from what he was doing had done up to this point.
It's definitely more a serious role.
Yeah, or he could show off more of his tough, because up to that point, I mean, he had done a little bit of dramatic stuff, but he had mostly been done comedic roles. But here he gets to show off his more like tough guy action adventure side. And also, I feel like this is perfectly timed considering that he just won an Oscar 2 weeks ago. By the way, so perfect timing on that. Perfect timing on this.
Another connection that I just want to throw out there, a film that came out, actually his follow-up to George of the Jungle.
Dudley Do Right.
No, his direct follow-up was
Blast from the Past. Wait, which one? Blast from the Past?
No, Gods and Monsters, a highly acclaimed Oscar-nominated film about James Whale, the director of the old Mummy movie, where Fraser played his yard boy, I think it was.
Yes.
And Ian McKellen, of course, got an Oscar nomination for playing Whale. Excellent, excellent film. But I like that connection between the two movies.
Yeah, right.
As well.
Yeah, that was a solid action adventure film. Yeah, I do agree that I feel bad. I feel bad. Initially, feel bad for Emotep in the beginning because this Anaxina Moon. She's just one of the Pharaoh's mistresses. Just a piece of fuck meat. And he truly loves her, but then he pays the price for it. But then he comes back and kind of goes scorched earth on everybody. So you go from kind of feeling bad for him to like, yeah, he needs to be put back in his tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Brandon, he was a great, he's a great lead as he makes a good lead as an action hero. Rachel Weisz, I think this was the first thing I ever saw her, and she was freaking adorable in this movie.
Indeed.
Yep. And then and then I remember as a teen watching this also, Arnold Vosloo was Emotep. I remember watching him and thinking that he could have been a good Lex Luthor in a Superman movie. Because I remember the back then Warner Bros was still working on that Superman movie with Nicolas Cage that never got made.
Well, and I was thinking Darkman in 2 and 3. So
that's right. But yeah, I thought Arnold Vosloo, could have been a good Lex Luthor to Cage's Superman. Pretty also the rest of the supporting cast is pretty. Odin Ferris, Arth Bay. Oh God, who was it? The pilot? Oh, Bernard Fox in one of his last roles. It was lots of great. The set design, the special effects were really good.
His final film role.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah, but yeah, I remember he passed away shortly after this came out. And also like the Scarabs there, like there was some good, like there's like, I mean, maybe not quite on the level, not quite on the level as gruesome as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but there's some, but there's plenty of good gross out moments in this movie, like the scarabs, or the guy who gets his eyes and tongue taken by Emotep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like in that time, in that period where because this whole time, between 1989 and 2008, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg wanted to make another Indiana Jones movie, but they couldn't get it off the ground. And I feel like this was kind of a spiritual. I mean, even though this is a remake of another movie, it felt like in some ways sort of like a spiritual successor to the Indiana Jones franchise in a time where that like in a time when that franchise was on ice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it fill that void as far as a period piece action adventure film. But yeah, it's like haven't watched this movie, but this is my first time watching this movie since I was, I think, in middle school, and I'd say it holds up pretty well. It's got a lot great action, great good comedy. It's exciting, it's funny, it's sweet, but yeah.
Right. All right. Was that good for you? Yeah.
No, no, I'm kidding.
All right. Tammy, how about you? Is this your first go around with this one? And what's your overall impressions?
No, it's not my first time. I don't remember the first time. I think it was not long after it came out. I probably rented it from, like we were talking about before, Blockbuster. But I do remember the first time I watched it, though. I seem to remember everybody being all hyped up about it, being, thinking it was going to be cool. And yeah, I thought it was cool. Definitely liked some of the effects, and there were definitely, like everybody said, some very memorable points in it. I've enjoyed Brendan Fraser and other things before this, so it was a little bit of a change for him to be kind of have the Indiana Jones type of feel to it with him. But yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable. I definitely, when you knew that there was going to be another one, was looking forward to it. So, and a lot of times when you know that there's going to be a sequel to a movie, you're like, oh boy, But this one I was actually looking forward to. Okay, this one was fun. What are they going to come up with for a second one, But yeah, I definitely have fun, and it was nice to rewatch.
Good deal. All right. How about you, Dave?
Yeah. I actually did see this in the theater when it came out. I believe that I might have actually seen it with my mentor that I had at the time. That was uh, given to me by the state at the time. So I would go out with an individual, and he would take me to movies to like see how I was doing during the day. And this was one of them. So I had a blast the first time that I saw it, and then later I had it on VHS, along with the sequel, and then later I upgraded to the trilogy set, and I also have as well followed the Scorpion King franchise that came along with it. And those are a mixed bag, but the for the most part, the trilogy is a strong one. Although I wasn't entirely a fan of the third one, but I do enjoy Brendan Fraser as an actor. He is a great comedian, but also to see him have a serious side. This was like his first role that he wasn't zany or anything like that. Well, he had.
I would say his first role was a serious role.
It was a fairly like
He
halfway
did have his
serious,
moments.
but he
School
had his
ties.
moments. He had his moments where
Yeah.
he would go like or something.
This was probably his
Yeah,
first.
the moment he yelled back at him.
Probably his first
He ran.
mainstream movie. There was more action and whatnot than
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, School Ties was because his first role was in School Ties, and that was a drop. That was a serious movie.
yeah.
And Rachel Rice was
Yeah.
was pretty damn good looking at this point in time.
I loved her when
lost all her
she was in the Egyptian outfit.
Yeah. I enjoy this movie. I also enjoy her brother. I've seen him in other.
Yes. John Hannah. He's
John Hannah. And I saw him later in Spartacus: Blood and Sand, and he is a phenomenal actor. So
That was great.
He's probably, other than this, I would say he's probably best known for Four Weddings and a Funeral, and he was definitely enjoyable in that one.
I've seen him in other things too.
Right.
Never seen that.
Random stuff.
Never seen that. Spartacus Blood and Sand was awesome though.
He's just enjoyable to have around as like a comedic.
Now I recognize. Like I'm looking at him like, okay, I know I've seen this, so I know him from here, but I know him from
he's a good
somewhere else. Where do I know him from? Spartacus Blood and Sand is where I know him. Thank you, Dave, for telling me, because that was bugging me. I could have looked it up, but I didn't have a chance to.
And the dude who plays Arctic Day, I remember him from Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
I was going to mention Oded Fair. Oded Fair. His first movie role was this movie, and he took a break between the two Mummy movies to do Deuce Bigelow. And I remember that now.
Oh my god! Wow.
It was fun. But that being as said, I thought the special effects for this movie were pretty damn good for the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that it does hold up, but seeing that CGI up against the CGI of today,
It's aged.
it has aged a little bit, but
Right.
to me it still holds up. I mean, you get in this film like a kind of a mix between what you kind of consider a mummy and some of the later mummies in this movie do seem like they're more like zombie like, but for the most part this is kind of like your modern day mummy, you know.
The people were zombie like too. The people that were following him, like Imhotep, they were zombie like, even though they were alive. So the people that were under his thrall were zombie like, and then the mummies were definitely skeleton and or zombie like. They were less mummy like. So they were kind of a combination of skeletons and zombies. I think I love one of the scenes actually where he chops one of the heads off, and the guy catches the head and he fumbles a little like it's a ball, and like he holds it. And he's like, see, you can almost see him like sigh in relief that he caught his head. It was hilarious. It's kind of a little slightly in the background while Brendan Fraser's cutting down all these other mummies. But if you look at that one scene, the mummy's like catching his head in his hands, and it's like bouncing up. It's fucking hilarious.
This makes me think of the
Just
Goosebumps
wanted to point that out.
episode that they did of these two. So,
Right.
Never saw that.
but
show.
in any case,
I feel like it does kind of have like obviously a higher budget than Goosebumps, not near as cheesy.
no,
This kind of puts me in mind of like some Tales from the Crypt kind of stuff a little bit. Like
just a
that.
little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, or Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, because that was it wasn't if I remember correctly, Christian Slater was in there with a mummy.
Oh, okay.
But in any case, I thought that this was a very enjoyable film and franchise, and I love revisiting it from time to time. I'm glad that we did. So
Indeed. Okay. So that your full take on there, Dave? For
yeah,
now?
I would say
Okay.
so.
All right. And a couple more notes on the cast since we've already mentioned most of them in passing. We also have a very well-known character actor, Eric Avari, who most recently, I guess, is playing Nicodemus on the series The Chosen. Plays Dr. Terrence Bay, apparently some sort of a relation of Ardeth. And he has a fun, if small, role. And then you have Kevin J. O'Connor as our boy Benny Gabor, one of the French Legion who has a colorful history with our main character and ends up a big part of the story here as well. For me, I kind of backed into this one, I guess you could say. Probably partly because of George of the Jungle and Encino Man and all. Really, honestly, movies I didn't actually watch. But Brendan Fraser, for me, at the time these movies came out, I thought he was like that goofy dude that was in all those stupid movies I don't want to watch. And so I didn't think much of him. And I hadn't really seen much with him. I think I probably did see Gods and Monsters before I saw anything else he was in. And I was like, holy crap, the dude can act.
Yeah,
but
no, I was because I was a kid because I was old enough to because I was a kid when George of the Jungle came out, so
right.
I was the target.
I have not seen that movie yet.
And George of the Jungle, in fairness, is apparently the movie that got him the role here. Because apparently Stephen Sommers and I guess some of the producers saw that and they were like, well, he'd be a good Errol Flynn type, which apparently is what they were going for with Rick O'Connor. Sort of an Errol Flynn swashbuckling kind of hero from the days of yore, which is one of the reasons why it has that 30s serials vibe that it does. And I think that they did do a really good job. But my introduction to this franchise actually was The Mummy Returns. And I may have actually seen that before Gods and Monsters. That may have been the thing that made me go, okay, I got to watch this other movie. I was curious about it for a long time because I was a fan at this point already of Ian McKellen. But I actually ended up with an opportunity at my alma mater. Had an opportunity to go with a bunch of people to see a free movie, and it was The Mummy Returns. And I went and saw it, and I had a blast. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I need to see that one again. I was going back and looking again at Roger Ebert's review, and he was kind of a mixed bag on the movie. But this was the time period when I was all about the critics' reviews, and Ebert was my favorite. And partly it's because I often agreed with him, but partly it's because he knew how to write a review. If he hated a movie, the review was going to be fun to read. And if he had mixed feelings, it could be more of a mixed thing. But one that always stuck in my mind, and I was actually able to find this. He's talking about The Rock, and this is Ebert's take on it. I continue to believe The Rock has an acting career ahead of him, and after seeing this movie, I believe it is still ahead of him. And I just love that. I always thought that was the most hilarious way.
I have to agree on that. I don't like to agree with critics much at all.
Right.
I think their profession is ridiculous. They usually some of them don't even do their research on the movies they do. Not him. I know that they actually watch
Ebert
their
definitely.
movies and all, but just a lot of critics in general.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with that. Like I love The Rock. I loved him in wrestling. I love every movie he's
Yeah.
been in since, and I loved him
Yeah.
even as a Scorpion King in the actual films that did. Separate, but when he was a Scorpion King in this particular movie, in Returns,
Well, the
it
sequel.
was bad. It was so bad.
It was brief.
I wanted to like it, but it was just so bad. So I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It just was not. It was not. I mean, he turned it around when he did the Scorpion
Right.
King movies, separate. But in this
Oh,
one as the Scorpion
actually.
King, it was just really, really bad.
Well, again, they didn't really give him much of anything. What's that?
He was only in one Scorpion King, by the
Right.
way.
They really didn't give him much of anything to do in The Mummy Returns, but the people who did, however loose and scrappy and light on the plot the second one might have been, it was a good showcase for this trio that we have here. Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hannah do make a great team. They play off each other really well. Weisz and Fraser have a great chemistry. Hannah is there as sort of the comedic, the comedic element, and they just made a great team. And I watched that movie, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I'm gonna have to watch the other one. And I did eventually. I still have yet to see the others. In preparation for this, I did pick up the trilogy that has these two and then the one with Jet Li in it, which title I can never remember.
It's like the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah.
The Dragon, was it the Tomb of the Dragon?
But yeah, that one didn't have. But yeah, that one they replaced Rachel Weisz with Maria Bellows.
Well, that's silly.
Yep.
I mean, I like Maria Bello, but that's silly.
But yeah, plus it came out just like a week after The Dark Knight, so it got lost in the shuffle at the box office.
As many things would in that case.
It was awesome.
Yeah, what's up?
I said it was awesome.
Yeah, I need to see. Like I said, I have it.
I love Jet Li.
Problem is, I have this trilogy on Blu-ray, so I had to do a little wheeling dealing to watch this in time. And I don't know when I'll get to see the other two, but this is the first time I've seen this one in several years. It may be only the second viewing overall, but it may be a third. I had remembered it in broad strokes, but I didn't really remember details. And so in a sense, it was like starting over with this one, like almost like a first viewing in some ways. And I enjoy it. It's a good, fun movie. As I said earlier, I have forgotten how funny it is. It is an action adventure film, but again, if they're using the old Errol Flynn films as the template, I mean, I have The Adventures of Robin Hood. I've seen it a couple times. It's a great, fun movie. And this does have kind of like a Robin Hood married with Indiana Jones kind of vibe to it. And I like that a lot. It worked well for me. The supporting cast was great. Like I said, you got a really good assortment of people, and they all do their roles well. The effects I thought were, good for the time. better, honestly, than the effects in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Although it would have been nice if they'd gone for more practical effects. I would have been happy if they'd done a little more of that, just in keeping with the tone and vibe of the film. But there was, I think, some practical effects, and it was a fun time. So I was very happy to get back to this one. And Rachel Weisz did make me very happy, not just because she was ungodly cute when this came out, but she made me very happy as a library employee. She made me very happy with her moment where she's like, "I am proud of what I am.
I'm a librarian."
I am a librarian. I thought that was hilarious, but it was they definitely gave her more to work with than the female lead, the previous one.
I was gonna say, like in the library scene when she's trying to balance that ladder.
She's a complete idiot.
Yeah.
like she, instead of just going down the ladder, moving it over, and then putting the book up, she risked her life putting it over there, and then just somehow didn't manage, not to herself, but knocked every friggin' bookcase in the entire library down.
But she did. She did know. She did. She had one valuable bit of knowledge there. You can't trust.
It was funny, but as smart as she was, I don't think her character would have actually done that. She was too smart to do something like stupid like that. Even though it was funny for the movie, it was something stupid that she had done.
Yeah. She had a few pratfalls. And again, I think that might have been another reason kind of why I liked her as a character is and maybe especially with her hair in the way it is in this one. I feel like she had a different do in The Mummy Returns, but maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But I feel like in this movie, she kind of reminded me of another very intelligent but klutzy individual, Annabelle Bransford in Maverick. So I don't know. Maybe that's one of the reasons I like it. But it, like I said, good film. So we will head into it. We've already kind of hit a bunch of bits and pieces. So I guess we'll go ahead and just kind of launch right into the plot and mention a little more on character as we go. That seems like as good an idea as any. So we basically start with a voiceover from Ardeth Bay, talking basically, if I remember correctly, I believe it starts with basically the origin of Imhotep the Mummy, essentially. Yes. So we see a little bit about what he did. He got a little frisky with the not really frisky, but
Pharaoh's mistress.
Yes.
Yep.
But then, at that moment, they called him her a mistress.
Yes. They went a little further with his culpability in this one than they did in the original. I think in the original, he had just coveted someone else in the temple, and it was not allowed. But he had, I think that his main sin was having stolen a scroll, the scroll of the dead.
Scroll of Thoth.
The scroll of Thoth. But in this one, he actually straight up kills the pharaoh.
Yeah,
which
well,
then so does she. But then she actually kills herself, which didn't happen in the original.
Right.
We only saw a funeral of some sort.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she kills herself, and then they come after him as he's trying to resurrect her. And they interrupt the the ceremony, and the impression I got, and I don't know what y'all got. This movie, the last week's movie was very clear on, I think, was very clear on what happened with Anaxinamen, which is basically that she got reincarnated again and again and again.
Mhm.
This one, it was kind of muddled. Like, they interrupted the ceremony, which made it sound like her spirit was forced to wander.
That's how I took it.
And then
Yeah.
I was unclear about whether Evie is actually supposed to be her reincarnation or not. Like, she's chosen as a quote sacrifice.
I think she just I think her in body she was her twin, and like her body.
Not,
body twin.
not in this first movie. Basically, Evie is just a body that the spirit of Anaxima.
No. He calls her by the name. So
Yeah,
she's an
he must
exact
have
twin
clearly sees her.
of the original.
Yeah,
So
Imhotep
she's a body
clearly
twin.
sees Anaxinamen in Evie. It's clear he chose Evie for a definitive reason.
Yeah, he calls her that. He calls her by that name because she's the exact twin of the original. She wasn't the same person. She just her body was the same. It looked exactly the same.
Which it's not exactly, because you have a very different actress who played the original character.
Right,
but
which they shouldn't have done. They should have had her play both roles. It would have made more sense.
I thought the movie was a little unclear on that, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know, Forrest or Tammy, if y'all had any thoughts specifically on that. But it does make it kind of hard with that plot thread to say for certain what's going on. But in the opening scene, they definitely interrupted the ceremony and then sentenced him to what supposedly was a curse so terrible it had never been used before.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to talk about the second movie when you come into this origin story too. At least in a minor concept, because they add the fact that the daughter of the pharaoh was actually involved in that whole scenario, and she actually watched her father get killed in the second one. So and Evie is actually having dreams, daydreams and nightmares about being this reincarnation of that daughter. So
okay,
going on that aspect in the second one, that is why I don't think that she actually was a twin in this movie. So that is my thoughts.
okay.
I do think that that the mummy wakes up, calls her an Oxima moon because she looks like she could be an Oxima moon. First woman he's seen in years. So
Yeah.
he's like,
or they did exactly what I said originally and decided to backtrack that when they made the second movie, which makes a lot more sense because that's how it was. That's what they were going for. He calls her by that name for a reason, and they decided to backtrack that idea. And when they made the second movie, they probably didn't plan on making a second and third movie, but the movie did so well. Like, hey, let's cash in on this and make them. And I'm glad they did. But again, that's why they're not quite coherent with each other, which can happen.
But at any rate, he is Imhotep is buried alive in a defaced sarcophagus. So it's similar in the other one in the sense that they kind of used some of the trappings they would have used for a burial, but defaced them and kind of showed. And there was apparently glyphs on the outer part that said they called him one who shall not be named or something along those lines.
And according to Evie, it was the Hamundai that was performed on him, and
right.
she had said at the time there was no historically recorded time that they had actually done this ceremony because it was so like extreme.
It was pretty extreme. They basically buried him alive, having wrapped him in like a mummy, but without the mummification process. They just wrapped him up, put him in the sarcophagus, filled it with scarabs. Very nasty breed of scarab, apparently. One that you wouldn't want to encounter.
Nope.
Yeah, supposedly they slowly ate him alive. But on screen, these scarabs ate people pretty fast.
Yeah. As we said before, scarabs basically were seen as being associated with the dead. I really don't know. I'd have to check and see if there really are any scarabs that would do something like that. Most scarabs are fairly innocuous when it comes to humans. Like, if they bite, it would probably at worst kind of pinch pretty badly. But there might be a couple that are worse than I am aware of. But nothing like you see in this movie. Those are some nasty mutant scarabs. And then some of the stuff they do too. The whole traveling under the skin thing, that did not, I don't like that part. But
no, me either.
But other than that, so you basically get that nice little intro. And then we move forward sometime into the future to Hamnaptra, the city of the dead, where the French Foreign Legion somehow has found themselves in the ruins of this city, this fabled city that no one who has gone looking for it has apparently been able to find. But apparently this detachment of mostly French soldiers with at least one American in their bunch finds themselves taking shelter as they're being attacked by a band which includes our friend Mr. Bay. Oded Fair is clearly one of the people in some level of authority with this group that we eventually come to find out is a centuries old. And this is one of the connections with Indiana Jones. This is kind of like the folks in the Last Crusade who had spent all this time trying to protect the secret of the Grail. You have these people trying basically to keep people out of Hamnaptra to keep the mummy, keep Imhotep from waking up. Which you kind of got to wonder about this curse that they put on him. Like, yes, it's nasty, but like the side effect of
the name of God.
Pretty much, yes. They
kind of like yeah, that's not too bright.
Yeah. So basically, and of course, Rick O'Connor, our Brendan Fraser character, O'Connell, sorry, is embedded with the Foreign Legion, along with his, to crib a phrase from
his friend,
Handmaid May, his best friend and greatest enemy, Betty Gaber.
Right. Right out the bat, he runs away.
Yes,
Dennis
yes.
too. And then when Brennan has to run away, he's like, "Go inside, go inside, go inside." He immediately goes inside and then shuts the door on him. What a great
Yeah.
friend! Friends like that, who needs enemies?
Yeah, exactly. But basically, the Legion is routed. Like they are mostly basically killed almost to a man. Benny gets away, this slippery little shit, and and Rick accidentally wakes up the mummy. And who? Oh, we lost Forrest. Hopefully, he'll be back shortly. Rick accidentally wakes up Imhotep. He doesn't quite realize it at the time. He just knows something nasty went down. But Bay and his companions know what's up. And they basically pull back a little bit. They see Rick stumbling out into the desert, and they're like, should we go after him? And Bay's like, no, the desert will kill him. Yeah. And so skip ahead a couple of years. And what's that?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, that sounds about right. Uh, skip ahead a little bit to Cairo, where you have Evie Carnahan, a delightfully klutzy and nerdy librarian who is, as we said before, not that great with ladders, who, after single-handedly wrecking the room she's working in, gets chewed out by her boss, Mr. or Dr. Terrence Bay, the Eric Avari character. And then her brother shows up. Jonathan Carnahan, again played by John Hannah, shows up with a weird little package that he says he got off a guy at a dig. And he talks Evie into coming with him to talk to this. Well, okay, well, they find out he doesn't know how to work it. She figures out how to open it, and they find a map inside. And they take it to the Egyptologist, Dr. Bay, to have a look. And he's somewhat intrigued, but he tries to brush it off. You know, eventually we find out he had reasons for trying to brush them off. But at the time, he plays it off as, trinkets like this are a dime a dozen. You probably got it from some grifter. I wouldn't worry about it, But they do worry about it. They go, Jonathan gets Evie to go with him, and they find themselves in a prison, which surprises her. And he's like, I wasn't really on a dig. I got it off this one guy. He didn't know. He didn't know I lifted off of him. And this one guy tends to be a very filthy and bedraggled Rick O'Connell, who went out to have a good time. And I love the part where
a very good time.
Jailer, like, what did he do? And then the jailer confers with someone, and he's like, apparently he had a very good time. I thought that was pretty fun. The jailer was fun too, and he was played by Omid Jalili.
And for some reason, he really wanted to see him die, because when she first offers him £100 to release him, I'd pay £100 to see him die.
Yeah. Yeah, he really did. So basically, he insists on coming along with them, of course, later, because they took his fun away from him. But essentially, after trying and failing to bribe the jailer to save this man's life, and basically he had mentioned, when they questioned him, he mentioned Hymenoptera, and Evie was like, oh, you know where it is, and so they essentially hire him on as their guide to go find this lost.
He's like, you want to know where it is? You really want to know? kisses her, and then says, "Get me out of there!"
Yeah.
Where are they taking him to go hang him?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. She did get him off. You know, figured, she did get him off. She figured out a way.
She basically figured
25
out.
cents, which she had gone 30, and he goes 25. She goes, deal.
Yes.
And he's like, damn, he realized it afterwards.
She promised she let the jailer know that this man knew where Hamnaptra was. And
Right.
everyone knew of Hamnaptra. And they believed that there was a massive treasury underneath.
Which there was.
Which there was. But she basically made it sound like to the jailer, okay, you let him go and we'll give you a share. And I think he wanted 50-50 at first. And then, yes, as you said, there was that great.
Yeah, I think she said 10% first. And yeah, he said, I think he said 50%. And then they went back and forth. And
yeah, it was something like she did like 20 and then he did 40. And then she went ahead and said 30. And he's like 25. And she's like,
Right. He's like 25, and she's like, sold. And he's like, then he's like, oh no, I went lower.
He is not a good haggler, apparently.
Yeah, and anyone,
welcome back.
I think that happened to me once too. I did that, and it's just like that moment when you realize, oh crap, I screwed myself. It can happen. Yeah, in the heat of the moment, you want to win the auction.
So basically, this little foursome sets off looking for Hamnaptra, and on the little river barge, they run into a group of Americans who 10 minutes with Jonathan, and they already know everything about the group. Because he doesn't keep secrets well.
With the exception of knowing that they have somebody that's been there before, because as he's about to say that,
he was about to say that
he got smacked.
but then they were like, oh well, so do we, and that's where we find out that Benny, our favorite little Weasley character, is leading the Americans back to the city. And an interesting little coincidence of sorts. And they do manage to keep them from knowing about the key that they have, at least at first. But basically, what could have been a relaxing river ride becomes much less so when the ship is put under attack. And essentially, everyone ends up abandoning ship. And we have this great moment where you see our group move to shore, and then Benny
before that, you gotta mention that.
Hey, O'Connell, I got all the horses. Hey, Benny, you're on the wrong side of the river.
There you gotta mention this one part where I feel there's two of them. First, she's asking him, why'd you kiss me? Because obviously she really liked to kiss. He goes, well, I was about to be hanged, seemed like a thing to do. And then she gets mad. He doesn't know why. But you think because she really liked to kiss, but she didn't want to let it on. And then but the funny part is the guy, the jailer. He goes, what do we do? What do we do? He goes, stay here, I'll go get help. And and then he jumps over the ship, and the guy's like, he's standing there, and he's like, wait a minute, and then he jumps, like he's coming to stay on a ship that's burning down. I'll go get help. He's like, yes. I just thought I wanted to mention this. I thought it was really funny.
Right. That was pretty good.
I think he would have been better off staying on the ship than what happened to him.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have known that at this point.
In hindsight, I think drying or even burning would have been better than what happened to him. In my opinion.
Yeah. I'll open up. Anyone else? We're kind of barreling along here. Anyone have any thoughts on some of the scenes we looked at, or any particular moments that jumped out at them?
I mean, the barge scene, like when they're getting into a fight and escaping. That was a pretty exciting scene.
Right.
Good.
Oh yeah, and then of course when the 10 plagues start happening, I mean,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Well, that's a little ways further, but yeah.
But I do like the fact that they are able to like work around this like steamboat thing that they're on. You know, it's and evidently they must have exploded it for the movie.
Okay.
But I did like how you saw the Magi go up against the boat, and you know Evie was all like, "Well, that wasn't that kiss really didn't mean anything,"
Right.
you know. So yeah, it had some interesting parts.
Where's the key? What key?
Right.
I know her brother had the key, but they didn't know it was a key because it doesn't look like a key.
Well, and the guy who came along with the fat one,
The jailer.
yeah, the dealer, he was actually in Gladiator as the guy who was selling Maximus in Gladiator. So,
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
He's good at those roles.
Interesting. He has had some interesting roles over the years. I seem to remember another one, but I'm trying to remember what it was. He has a vocal role in the Shaun the Sheep movie. That's a good underrated little thing. What's the one I'm trying to think of? Oh yeah, a couple of Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, little role there. Oh man, I felt like there was another one. I don't know. Maybe I just missed it. But anyway, the next, basically, somehow, despite the disadvantage of having been on the wrong side of the river, the other party does catch up to our main party in time for the big reveal of Hamunaptra, and it is a pretty fun reveal. I'll admit that.
Yeah, it is.
It's something like the way the sun shines makes it visible at a
Here.
certain time, or something like that, and they all have a remarkably civil rivalry for the first part of it as they're going in and doing their separate.
Benny keeps trying to smack Brendan Fraser's character. He keeps hitting him, and then finally Brendan just grabs him and throws him off his horse, which is pretty hilarious. Yeah, that like I said, that he's a great friend.
Right.
If you like enemies.
And apparently, for some reason, all the camels on set hated Kevin J. O'Connor. I don't know what the story is behind that, but apparently, whenever Benny had to do something with a camel, it was difficult. So, I don't know. I don't know what the story is there, but
Yes, the camels didn't like him.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so Yeah, so again, they find the ruins. They start looking. Um, our Evie is looking for the Book of Ra, which is reputed to be a gold book and like solid gold book, and it's supposedly, I guess you could say, sort of a holy grail type thing for a librarian to find a book like that. Uh,
Yeah, Book of
I
the
like
Dead.
what she does with those mirrors that makes the
oh
light.
yeah, that was cool.
That was really neat because everybody's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And she's like, "Just wait." Then when the light hits it, it lights up the whole room. They're like, "Oh."
Right. But she arranged all the mirrors to basically create indoor lighting in this thing, which was, yeah, very cool idea on her part.
I think
Um,
it was interesting how the one group was above above them, I
yeah,
believe, and they were digging and doing their own thing, and the other group was down below, and they're both they both end up getting like a part of what they need to get, you know.
right.
Yeah.
It so it was kind of funny, you know.
I think Evie was kind of funny when she knocked down all those bookshelves in the very beginning.
You're right. Which apparently they did that in one take because to do another take would have required setting everything back up and ah,
Yeah, get it right the first time because we ain't doing this again.
exactly.
Wasn't there another movie where
Giant
that
dominoes
happened?
isn't as fun as it looks.
I'm trying to think of it, but wasn't there another movie that something like that happened where all the bookshelves just went down? And I
I'm
can't think of the name
sure.
of the movie.
Probably. I've seen it before. I
I'm
haven't
sure
seen
there
it.
have been a couple. There
Probably
might
like
have even been
people
one.
fighting and get knocked into bookshelves, and then like all the bookshelves go down or something. I've seen that.
I feel like that's the kind of gag you might have seen back in the 30s, maybe in like a Laurel and Hardy or Howard Lloyd or something. I don't know. So I could be wrong about that, but I wonder if that was one of their ways of doing that. I don't know. But anyway, it was an impressive gag.
Yeah,
Uh,
it just looked familiar to me, like I'd seen it somewhere before. That other than this movie.
right.
So
So yeah, basically, if I'm remembering correctly, I do believe the Americans are the ones who find the I believe it was the Book of the Dead that they found, which was a black book. And the other group, of course, has the key to open this book, and they basically Evie gets hold of it and says some things aloud that she shouldn't, as you do in a movie like this. And
Again, another faux pas where she probably should have known better because the other guy like said don't read from the book, like he knew, and
yeah,
I would consider her as smart as him, if not smarter, so I think she should have known better. So again,
there is a difference between intelligent and common sense, and I feel like she's a very intelligent woman, but she might have been lacking a little.
lacking on common sense. Yeah, maybe they definitely did portray her as not having a lot of common sense, but very intelligent.
Right. So basically, this leads to Imhotep kind of coming back. And I believe, was it his revival that started the plagues? I'm trying to remember that.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So we supposedly the 10 plagues of Egypt, which we do see several of them, but we don't necessarily see 10.
All of them.
We get the water into blood, and we get the
the moon going
The
over
eclipse,
the eclipse. Of course he shoots out the plague out of his mouth. You know, the bugs and shit.
And when we see the locust, we see the locust right away. That was they come in almost immediately. But you talked about how there was sort of some zombies later on. Essentially, I guess like the people covered in boils basically is the plague essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he kind of used it as a form of mind control. Like he was able to control the infected people, basically.
Yeah.
So that was lovely.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, he somehow right. Okay. He finds and corners Benny. And Benny prays to every god he can think of. He happens to have religious talismans for at least half a dozen world religions around his neck. And finally, he starts praying to an Egyptian god. And Imhotep pauses and he's like, basically, like, you speak the ancient tongue or something like that. And
he said the slave's language.
You speak the slave. Oh, right. He was praying to a Star of David. That's what it was.
You speak the slave's language.
And yes, you speak.
And he's like, you could be useful to me.
Yes.
When he decides to not kill him.
Right. So Benny becomes his right hand man.
Perfect role for him.
It sort of is. Yeah.
Evil men always get their comeuppance. Oh, they do?
I love how he also has in his hand all kinds of gold. So he's like not only sparing his life, but he's offering him riches too.
Exactly, yes. Which Benny is very happy to take the riches.
Oh yeah, yes. He's like, I don't care if you're the bad guy that wants to destroy the world. You're paying me, so I'll be fine.
Right.
Like no one left on the world to buy things for him, but he doesn't think of that.
Right. It's funny how people often don't think about these kind of things, Yeah. I think about it, it's kind of like the it's kind of like what the Joker said about you're like a little dog chasing after a car. You don't know what you do if you catch it,
Right.
But Benny's kind of like that. He's like, he knows he wants to be in power and riches, but he doesn't really know what he's going to do with it. And also, I want to say it was before that he attacked one of the Americans and stole his eyes and tongue, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, because as they're running from this mummy, Mr. Burns, I believe it was a glasses wearing fella, and he dropped his glasses. And if I recall correctly, I believe it was Benny.
Stepped on him.
Was it?
Benny stepped on him.
Yes, it was Benny who stepped on them as he ran by.
Yeah, he's like, "Can you help me
find my?"
He was going to ask for help finding his glasses when he heard crunch.
Right. Now, if you think about it, though, and this may have been a failing of the movie, this may have been a goof, but it might have made the movie even more hilarious and more of a comedy. But this is the guy who can't see without his glasses, and he's the one the mummy took his eyes from.
Right.
It's like, shouldn't the mummy have been pretty poor vision?
Yeah, exactly. He took the eyes from the guy who can't see.
Right.
But I guess because he had godlike powers, when he took the eyes, it restored the eyes. I mean, I guess that's what they were going for. They didn't actually say that, but
yeah.
That's what I guess they were going for.
and of course he took the life force from a few other people, and he could certainly have because there was a curse that like whoever basically whoever opened the tomb, I believe, was the target of the curse.
Yeah, whoever opened the tomb and whoever had the jars that he wanted back and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
everyone
they
was
had
there.
taken those. Yeah.
And they found out that Benny was not actually there because he took off. He said he was the smart one of us, you know,
Yeah.
which he's always, and that's when Brendan Fraser's like, yeah, he's good at that. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Right away.
basically, I think the eye thing would have been fixed with the next person that he got, or
Yeah.
theoretically it might have been, or at least
Right.
partially fixed. But still, I can't help but thinking now that it would have been kind of hilarious to have him kind of stumbling around.
Possibly blind, not be able to see, and then maybe he has to get some glasses or something.
Well, at the very least, having some difficulty, and that might have been one of the reasons he decided to spare Benny, because then he would have a seeing
the
eye
extra
weasel.
eye. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's funny, with the guy that they get, they took his eyes and then his tongue, and then he comes back, and now he wants the rest of it. Like, what else does he need? They end up killing him, but he's like, now he wants the rest of it. What?
yeah, they apparently kind of disturbed him while he was still in the process of taking stuff from the guy. But so that basically is our setup for the return of Imhotep. Meanwhile, I believe it's but actually it was, I think even before they released the mummy, the jailer got his, because he found some jeweled scarabs and started picking at them. And
I think they had already released him, or it was around the same time. But yeah, he was. They were jeweled, and then he thought they were jewels, and he put them all in his bag, and then one, of course, falls down. He doesn't notice it falls, and then
Yeah.
it breaks apart, and scarab pops out, and it goes into his boot and into his foot, and then that's when he feels it, and then you see it crawling up his leg and his whole body, and
yeah, it gave us some visuals we could probably do without, but
it was good. Like I said before, it was good, but it was bad at the same time. Like, it was ew, but it was definitely,
Right.
it was fun and not fun at the same time.
Yeah, and basically this kind of, from here on out, I'm actually surprised at how well I've been able to do a kind of a point by point so far. I didn't think I'd be able to, but I think at this point it does get kind of hard, because it's like all action.
Yeah,
Really, it's almost all action at the end. There's, or near the end, not at the end, where we've still got a lot of movie left, but basically, you see a couple of the. I believe the doctor was the next one. No, I say doctor. We haven't actually mentioned Dr. Alan Chamberlain, who's the Egyptologist who's come along with the American group.
Yeah.
We've also got Mr. Daniels and a Mr. Henderson, who last a little bit longer. The doctor, though, is the next one that the mummy gets. And
yeah.
it's and afterwards he starts looking kind of like his old self, kind of like old Mr. Arnold Vosloo once again. Although strangely enough, he has almost perfect facial features until
one little spot where it's just still really messed up. And
what's that?
There's one little spot that's still messed up, because he, even when he gets Evie, and he wants to try to kiss her or whatever, and
Right.
and they get your creepy face away from her.
Right.
Know?
Well, that's what I was going to say. And maybe I saw something different. Maybe I was imagining it. You guys can tell me what you think. After his attempted kiss, he has most of his mouth and jaw is still in tatters. Most of the rest of his face is fine, but that area is rough. But I swear he looked much more normal when he went in for that.
Well, see, yeah, I agree with you, but I think what it was is like he stored his mouth to like scare him, and then when it went back, he didn't quite get it all back to normal again. So we saw what it was looking like before it was back to normal again. It's like he can change what his face to the scary version and the not as scary version.
Right.
That's the way I saw it.
Right. And then this starts essentially they are trying to get away, I believe at this point they have also already seen the treasury. They know it's there. And it is impressive. And I know Benny has seen it or it's an impressive treasury. But there comes a part where they realize that Benny's working with the Imhotep.
Yeah.
And
he's like, who's your friend? You're my friend. Yeah.
But actually, okay, my brain is petering out here. They went back to Cairo, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how that came about and why.
I don't either. It's just like they were in the tomb, and I'm watching, and the next thing they were back in Cairo. I'm like, wait, what? It's just kind of, I don't know. I don't know.
Remember that?
I blinked and it was different.
I do believe that they did go back to Cairo.
Yeah, they definitely did, but I don't remember the transition from the tomb to the Cairo. It was just kind of like it was the tomb and then it was Cairo.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the order on all this because they do end up back there somewhere, either on their way back or I feel like it was on their way out of the pyramid. Oh, right. Okay. They got back with the help of Ardith Bey and his people. I remember that.
Oh, that's right. Because they said go now and we'll spare you your life and
right.
We'll take care of the mummy and figure out how to kill him and stuff. And,
right. And we had seen Ardith and we saw Dr. Bey had arrived and shown his relation to their group. And he, I think, was the first to go. And then I think Ardith allowed them to get.
Well, he went during the the Americans died after were next.
The Americans died before the Beys got involved.
No, I'm talking about the ones that were in the hotel that they were staying at, or the house. Right. And then he died right after when they were all running away from the mob and the mummy in the car, and after they ran over the people and they had to went to jump in the hole or whatever they went to jump into, and he was still like fighting off the crowd, and they all just covered him instead of him jumping in.
So they did all get back to Cairo. That's what I thought.
So they were at Cairo when it happened. Like I said, I don't know how they got back there.
Well, like I said, I think the Beys allowed them to leave the pyramid.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I don't remember which of the Americans went when. I believe I saw Mr. Daniels get it.
Well, the gunslinger dude, which I don't know his name, like he kind of reminded me of somebody that might have been the hero of the story in like other stories.
He would have been Mr. Henderson.
Yeah. Okay.
He went first.
Yeah, he was. He was second because there was two that weren't shown.
That's why I'm wondering.
There were two that were killed, and they just saw the dead. We just saw the dead body, and they go, "Well, that's two down." And
because I saw Mr.
And then
Daniels.
we saw Henderson getting killed.
I saw Mr. Daniels get killed. I did not see Mr. Henderson get killed, And I remember looking around for him and going, "Where the hell's the other guy?" So
Okay,
he
he
must.
got killed. He was like flipping guns in the air and stuff in his room and stuff. And all of a sudden he saw like the wind move, and he's like looking like what's going on. And all of a sudden he just starts being choked by the wind, and he gets dead. And all of a sudden the mummy appears in the room and grabs the vase that he had, and then he leaves. So.
Okay. Well, all right. So I guess we got that figured out. And like I said, anyone that remembers this stretch better, feel free to pipe up. But anyway, I do know they ended up back in Cairo. They faced the mob. They had to deal with the mob there. Of
They
all
run people over.
people. And then
I was thinking, I bet he wished he didn't have a convertible at that moment. You know,
right.
It would have been much easier for them if it wasn't a convertible.
But then somehow they all end up back in Hamnaptra. Things happen. See that
when they ended up back in because he took when he asked Evie to give herself up, and he would spare her friends.
They found the good Captain Winston Havelock, and
he takes her and Benny in a storm cloud and brings them back in the storm cloud. And the Winston dude takes his little plane and brings them, and that whole scene where they're flipping upside down and stuff, and the two people were hanging on and they didn't die was ridiculous.
You had Havelock and you had O'Connell in the plane, and right. You had Jonathan and Ardith hanging on to it.
There's no fucking way they would have hung on to that plane when it went upside down. I mean, never mind hanging on when it didn't go upside down. It was funny, but there's no way.
And then, of course, the captain went down with the ship, as it were.
Yeah. He wanted to die for some reason.
Yeah. He was basically stuck out in the middle of the desert and bored to tears. Yeah. But he was a fun one. As we mentioned before, Bernard Fox, this was his last film role. He had a handful of TV credit. Apparently, his last credit was an appearance on Dharma and Greg, of all things, which is kind of amusing. But this was, and before this, his last film was Titanic. But he was an amusing chap. But
he was very amusing.
Of course, we have the big confrontation now. The big confrontation between supposedly the forces of good and the forces of evil,
Yeah.
And Imhotep is trying to resurrect his ain true love, using Evie as a quote sacrifice, and the others are running about trying to
figure out how to save her.
They're trying. I believe this is the part where they have to renew the search for the Book of Ra, because there's the belief that he can use it to destroy him, basically.
And the brother Jonathan ends up finding the book, and just as he's about to stab Evie for the ritual, he goes, "I got the book, I got it." And then she tells him, "Read from it, it will destroy him." And then he starts reading, and of course he gets stuck on one of the symbols, which she finally does tell him. And of course, at one point, I guess the mummy of the dead woman mistress was chasing Evie. I'm not sure how that happened, but it was pretty funny. And of course, all the other mummies are chasing Brendan Fraser and around, and I love the scene when he yells at them, "Ah!" and they all go, "Ah!" and he's just like, "Fuck this!" He just runs. I think he didn't say "fuck this," but he said, "Nah, I'm out of here," or something like that. I can't remember what he said, but he said something, and they ran. It was good. I mean, like I said, there was a lot.
It was something that translated as "I'm getting too old for this shit."
Probably something like that. And then finally, they read the inscription, and they're like, I thought he was supposed to die. I thought the book was supposed to, destroy him. And then, of course, he runs and he puts his sword up, and the movie runs right into the sword, and he realizes, oh shit, it's actually punctured me, and I'm dying. He had that look of like complete shock because he was like invincible.
It didn't destroy him; it made him mortal.
And then it made him mortal, and then he fell in the water, and we see him disappear, which was pretty cool. I mean, it was. I was kind of wondering though, in the temple when they were fighting all the mummies and everything else, why didn't he use his power, like his godlike power in the temple? Like, why didn't he use like anything more against them? It seemed like he neutered himself to some of his powers he could have used. And kind of wondering
part of it may have to do with the fact that he was once again interrupted in the middle of a ritual. He may have had some power tied up in that.
Yeah, that's possible. But yeah, maybe he had all his power, a lot of power tied up into the ritual itself to bring back his loved one, because that might have been taking a lot of power. But the thing is well, the weird thing is even before he became the mummy, became godlike, she said to him, "You need to escape. You're the only one who can bring me back to life." So he already had the power to bring her back to life, even as a human.
He had the power.
So, that's a little is what I'm kind of wondering. If he already had the power, he need all that godlike power to bring her back.
He had the knowledge, like he was.
Yeah.
The impression I got was that, just like in the other version, in his role as a priest, he was able to see things other people wouldn't see, and he probably saw some information in these scrolls that he had maybe. I don't know if they had talked about these things in the past, but they must have to some degree, or something. Yeah. But at any rate, because I think they probably were resigned to the fact they couldn't be together in that life, so they were kind of trying to.
Like, she was like, "I'm just gonna kill myself, and you're gonna bring me back."
Yeah. So I think that mostly finishes the actual story. Of course, we then have, while this is going on, our friend Benny is running treasure out to the camels and horses waiting outside. And, he's basically forgotten all about his role as helping Imhotep. He is like, I want the treasure, and he's after it. And then, of course, he does the stupid Kate Capshaw and Temple of Doom thing of leaning against the wrong part of the wall. And actually, he basically sets the saddlebags over top of a lever, and it happens to be a load-bearing lever.
Yeah.
And essentially, Benny got what he wanted. He got all the treasure.
Bye, Benny. Well, no, not quite all of it. Not quite all of it.
Not all of it, but most of it, because he ended up buried in the treasure room.
But yeah,
but
unfortunately, he did not live to use any of it.
Yeah, the others, whether they knew it or not, went off with a little bit of treasure, so that was pretty cool for them.
It's funny when Jonathan said, "So we leave empty-handed again," and he says. And then he says, "Well, I wouldn't say that." And he hugs and kisses Evie. So you may kind of leads you to believe that he's saying, "Oh, he's not empty-handed because he has the girl."
Yeah.
But then you see the treasure sticking out of the bag. So it's kind of like, did he know? It kind of seems like maybe he did know about that, and he was kind of referring to her, but also the actual treasure too. So That's the way
think
I
he
see
was trying. He was trying to be the swashbuckling romantic hero, and it's unclear whether Evie herself knew about that. But I think Rick knew about it. I
it.
think
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he,
I think Rick knew too. Is what I'm
yeah.
saying.
So
Yes,
there
don't-
you go. They have their happy ending, riding off into the sunset, or some such thing.
which leads to why the second one they're rich.
Right.
Or
So
at least afford to travel over the world.
right. So essentially, that is the story. Does anyone have any else that they want to throw out about plot, characters, story beats we missed, story beats that need a little more explanation or revisit or what have you before we move on to the production?
See, I thought that the explanation of everything was actually more so than the. It's like they added to the story, you know, the story that we originally had, and I feel like we got more of an explanation there. But there is like I think we touched on earlier the whole Evie thing where he calls her an Oxima moon or and exactly what her role is to you know to Imhotep is a little unclear, but I think for the most part, I think she was just a body that he could put the spirit of an Oxima, his love inside of her.
Right.
And she was just the first woman that he saw after like 3,000 years. And come on, looking at Rachel Weisz, can you not imagine like a 3,000-year-old man being like, God, this woman is not drop dead gorgeous,
Yeah.
and not
Well, he might have been drawn to her too, because she does have the Egyptian background,
the
Right.
Egyptian blood too, because
Yes.
she drunkenly told O'Connor that Egyptian was in her blood.
Probably not a lot of it, but but yeah, I do I do not know where I was going with that. Anyway, I would have to say, oh yeah, I think I would have to say that yes, if I had been imprisoned for 3,000 years and the first woman I saw looked like that, I probably wouldn't be too concerned about continuing the search, I mean, I could be wrong, but whatever.
Although because you'd be like a half decayed corpse, so you'd probably be a little out of her league,
Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe she's a closet necrophiliac. I don't know. But anyway, that's a weird element to the film that I'm sure has not been explored very often. But anyway, does anyone have? We've talked a little bit about the effects. Does anyone really have any more to say on that? On like the visual effects, the overall appearance of the film. It was nominated for an Oscar for the sound, and I would say the sound is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And the production was pretty solid too. I mean, I like the special effects. They were really good for their time, even good for now. I mean, some of it maybe they could have done a little bit better, and of course they did do. Some of it, some tongue in cheek, which I just made you laugh. It was just kind of funny the way they did it, and some of the things they did. Like I said, the plane scene was fun. Obviously not realistic at all, but it was fun. And the way they did it, you could suspend your disbelief and go with it, because it was just fun the way they did it. So I think they went on their strengths, and where there was maybe a little bit of weaknesses, to the thing that they kind of made that tongue in cheek, so you could laugh at it. So I think they did a really good job with that. Um, giving us something even when their special effects or whatever isn't quite as good as it could have been. Giving us something to enjoy by laughing at the tongue in cheek of some of it.
Oh, like when he pulled out the cat and scared the mummy.
Yeah, all of that.
I did like the utilization of the cat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how when he first saw the cat and he took off, and then he's like, well, "What's his deal with not like cats?" And I knew that about Egyptians. Like I said, I've studied a little bit.
Right.
I've always loved cats, but cats were thought of as like gods to some of the Egyptians as well, and then of course to him, guardian of the way they describe, like a guardian of the dead. So that's why he was afraid of the cat. But yeah, I love it. I love it how he looks at the cat. He's all afraid, and the cat's just like, it's just at him too. And he's like, I don't want any part of this. Like this full-legged fucking furball is gonna kill me. He's fucking pretty powerful at this point. He's not invincible yet, but he's pretty fucking powerful, and he's afraid of a cat. Definitely kind of funny. But if you know anything about Egyptian lore or whatever, it makes perfect sense why he would be. So I really like that they added it. It seemed like they did their homework with the movie, and they seemed to add some of real history, things that we knew. And then, of course, they added some tongue-in-cheek stuff in there to make the movie, and I think they did a really awesome job of making a good mix of action and comedy, and telling a good and it's a love story as well. I mean, not just not just between the two main characters, but then the villain and his woman. I mean, the reason he's doing everything is for love. So I mean, the entire thing is a complete love story. Kind of a love gone bad, and then another love that didn't go bad. So
Right.
my thoughts on it.
So I will say I said before, but I'll say again, in keeping with the whole 1930s kind of adventure serial vibe, the whole Errol Flynn swashbuckling kind of vibe. Personally, I wish they had gone with more practical effects, and I think it would have served the movie well. But I think for what they were going for and what they did, the CG effects serve the film pretty well. I mean, they do serve that kind of tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted humor reasonably well, and so yeah, I think they could have done better, but they could have done worse. So I think they hit a reasonably happy medium. And there are a few other things they could have, I think, done. Like, I don't think there's a single major. Let me double check. I don't think there's a single significant character in this film who's actually played by an Egyptian. So
Yeah,
that's kind of unfortunate. Omid Jalili
I think
is
we could have.
Iranian. Eric Havari is of Indian descent. Oded Fair is of Israeli descent, or thereabouts. Israeli. He's from Tel Aviv. I saw that. So it fits in with the whole vibe of just picking someone because they kind of fit, that Hollywood unfortunately still does a little bit, but they were definitely in full force doing it this time. That's unfortunate, but I still like the actors and I like them in the roles. And this as far as production, also the music is by Jerry Goldsmith. And I think he did a pretty good job doing kind of an old fashioned kind of orchestral sound, kind of an old school adventure movie score. I don't know if y'all had the same sort of vibe. I thought it was a pretty good one for the movie. Kind of fit, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? I don't think we're hearing you, Jake.
Oh, I accidentally muted myself, didn't I?
Oh, okay. I'm like, why
Happens.
am I hearing nothing? At first, it was like, it was me.
Okay. Well, did we have any other thoughts on the music or any other aspect of the production?
I do want to say I wish they had more hieroglyphics. I wish they showed more hieroglyphics. Like we don't really get to see a lot. I just really like hieroglyphics. Like I would like to have seen like some hieroglyphics in the Book of Dead or whatever. Just even like a page or whatever. That would have been cool.
Oh, more than just when they were reading it, just trying to figure out what Maleficus was.
Yeah, I mean they were just saying it. They didn't really show anything, so you know.
If they I need to take my finger away from the computer. If they really wanted to have fun with it and do what you're describing, they could have elements of the. You see this occasionally in movies when people are reading newspapers or whatever. Sometimes you'll actually get joke articles in there. Sometimes they'll actually take the time to write something that if you really wanted to sit and read it, it would actually be pretty hilarious. I know I've seen that happen a couple of times. So it'd be kind of funny if they did something like that with the hieroglyphs, where like they actually are saying something completely absurd. Like, yeah, that'd be kind of I don't know. I'd be amused by that. But at any rate, if we don't have anything else particularly about the movie, I guess we can move on to favorites. And I think I'm going to start on this round. I'll start to my left. I guess, Forrest, if you wanted to say your favorite scene and or line and favorite character, I guess, from the film.
All right. Favorite moment for me, I got a couple. At least a couple. First one was the airplane scene. I thought that was really cool. That was really looked really cool. And also like when oh god when emo when Emotep is first awakened and he takes the guy's tongue and eyes out. Nice, nice little nod to the movie's horror roots. Or at least yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, for that. The favorite character. I mean, probably I would definitely say yeah. I would probably say Rick O'Connell's. Rick O'Connell's was really good. And Evie's very charming.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Was that it for you there?
Well, actually, I'd also say Emotep before he completely regains his old self.
Okay. Good deal. How about you, Dave?
Me?
Indeed.
Okay, I like it when he throws Benny over the boat. I like when Benny, whenever someone talks to Benny, and he's like, really, what? Um,
Hmm.
I do like the part where he screams at the mummy screams right back at him. He's like, oh shit, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I There's very a little scenes that I like from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
When John Hannah it has the zombie guys saying Imhotep decides to join the natives.
Oh yeah.
Various like funny shit like that are
Right.
my favorites. And the part where the cat scares the mummy. That's fucking hilarious.
Good deal.
Yeah, various moments like that. And when Evie gets drunk and they're about to kiss and her face falls into his nuts.
Okay.
Actually, I just want to
Why
actually
is
just
that?
where Evie said as far as favorites, when Evie says that she's a proud librarian, drunkenly declares that she's a proud librarian.
Right. Right.
I am
and
a librarian.
Dave, did you say your favorite character?
My favorite character, it kind of varies between like the trio of it's either between Rick O'Connell, John Hannah, and Rachel Weisz. And I think that's for some reason Benny just kind of makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So
Sounds good.
he's like that lovable creep that you want to like, but you can't trust him worth shit.
Indeed. You trust him about as far as you can throw him, right?
Right?
Brendan Fraser kind of throws him pretty far. So I don't know. I think I trust him less than that.
Well, how far could you throw him?
Okay. Maybe I trust him both that far.
All right. How about you, Tammy? What are your favorites in this one?
I think Evie is my favorite character because she's in some ways she's so unpredictable. You know, when she picks up the gun and starts shooting, you didn't expect she's gonna do that. You know, it doesn't seem like I don't know. It doesn't seem like she'd really know how to use one until she actually picks one up and starts using it. You know.
I'd be afraid seeing her with a gun after the bookshelves.
Well, like similarly, where she surprises Rick with how well she rides a camel. You know.
He was impressed.
But you know, yeah, that's funny. But she's funny, but you could tell she's smart, but she's witty. She's just, she's got all the
She's a
neat
goofball.
qualities, and not that I'm like girls, but she's pretty also, Scenes. Well, yeah, I like that same one that David does, when the mummies go ah and he goes ah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Although I find it totally completely creepy and I know what's happening, the scene where they mummify him and they put him in the thing and then they dump all the scarabs in there and they start going and they close them up and it's like, oh shit. You know what's happening to that dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, you picture it. You picture what's going to happen to him. And it's like a really kind of like creepy scene because you know what's going to happen to him. you know. And then later
I
in
do
the
have to
movie,
say, when the scarabs open up from those jewels for that um, jailkeeper dude, and you watch it go up his chest and into his brain, that is a little bit of a creep mode, at least the first time you see it, but not really scary now. Uh, that the scarabs were some good moments too.
okay, well, as I was saying later on in the movie, when when they open the mummy and they realize that he's still wet after 3,000 years, and they're making comment on it, and you're realizing why, because they've been feeding off
I
of him
believe the
all
word
this
they
time,
called it was
and
juicy.
you think back,
Yes, juicy.
you think, yeah, juicy, you think back to how he got in there. At that, the minute they open them and they say that, you think that you actually think back to the scene about how he got in there. And that they've been feeding on him for 3,000 years, you know? It's just, I guess I kind of like the scene because the two go together, of course, but it makes you actually think about it, you know, when you get to the second part of it. So, um, I guess, oh, and when, oh, what's his name? One of his brothers, um,
So,
finally reads the gold tablet and gets the, I don't know if you want to call them the mummy zombies to quit attacking, and they're now under his control. I think it's so cool because he says, and then um, they're like going back and forth trying to control him. So it's kind of funny. So okay,
Well, very good. And how about you, girl?
well, yeah, I have a few scenes myself. I do like they probably mentioned the cat when they pull the cat up to him and the cat's like, and he's like, ah, and he just, like takes off. That was pretty funny.
I forgot about that
Um,
one. Sorry, Kroll. I like that too.
I was wondering why you didn't mention it. I was surprised. um,
Well,
and
that's because everybody else is mentioning it.
of course, when Rick yells at the mummies like they mentioned, and they yell back, and he just runs like I'm out of here, and that's another great scene, and now it's but I think my favorite is when he goes to hit the mummy. And he chops the mummy's head off, and the mummy just catches his head in his hands, and he's like fumbling with the head like at the ball, and then he's like finally gets a hold of it. It's like you can almost picture the head sighing in relief because his head doesn't go rolling. It's only like in the background of the fight, so you may not even notice it. I happen to notice it now. I don't know if I noticed it first time or not, but yeah, I noticed it now, and it was pretty funny, and it was hilarious, and I really loved it. Now, to mention, as far as I wouldn't call them favorite parts, but definitely notable parts is again with the scarabs. Like when like I said, when he gets mummified, but more so, definitely when um the jailer gets it. When it goes into his boot and then of his leg and of his arm and his chest and it was that whole thing was like, yeah. But even more so, even though you saw kind of less, but like it left it to your imagination, which I have a very good imagination, and I think it was worth leaving it to my imagination, is with Benny. When he just, he's watching everything close, and then those mirrors break. So now, so the light goes out, and then the torch slowly goes out, as all the scarabs are heading towards him. They're all just surrounding him, not even going towards him yet. And then the light goes out, and so you don't actually see it. You just hear him scream, and you know what's going on. You don't see anything, but like I said, I think that's worse because they left it just to your imagination. And for me, that's worse. So I really have to note that is probably the most creepiest moment in the movie, because the way they set it up is set up perfectly for my imagination to take over and freak myself out. So yeah, kudos to them on that one. They did a great job. They set it up by showing what the scarabs can do by the other two scenes, and then by the last scene, they're like, "Okay, now you go and see what you think." Give yourself nightmares. So I thought that was really really well done. And as far as favorite characters go, Evie and Rick, I have to go with equally. I like him. He's funny. He's witty. He's charming. He's the leading man. He's everything what most leading men are. And he's just really good. I've always been a fan of Brendan Fraser. Encino Man was awesome. Blast from the Past. I loved him. I actually didn't realize he was in Joe the Younger. I kept hearing my mother told me about that movie a million times. I never saw it. I didn't realize it was him. Now it makes me want to see it even more. I definitely like that kind of comedy. Definitely something I'm sure I'm going to enjoy. So we'll have to watch that one of these days. And her, she's very likable character. I mean, she's very smart. You're gonna like that about her. And she's fun. She's very gorgeous, very very nice looking. And she's definitely a nerd, which again appeals to me. She's a klutz, which I would say appealing, but I definitely can relate. You know, I'm klutzy. I wouldn't really do what she's done with the ladder thing. I would have been smarter than that, but it was definitely a funny scene. So I really liked them, and I love the chemistry they have with each other, and even the chemistry she has with her brother, as in the banter. They definitely felt like brother and sister. They definitely had that banter back and forth, like a brother and sister would. So you definitely very believable that they were brother and sister, and very believable that her chemistry with him as well. So, but I do have to note Benny. I wouldn't say a favorite character. It was fun seeing him get fucked up. Like every time that he gets thrown over the ship, and he gets smacked off the horse. When he gets thrown up, put up almost to the fan, and he starts spilling his guts. Like all those moments were great. Not that like him, but he was such a weasel. It was really great seeing him get smacked around. Now again, the scene where you're gonna die, where even though you haven't actually seen it, that was like, ooh, I don't even think he deserved that. As much as he was a lech, and he wasn't the best character, that was definitely, I think that was a little beyond what he deserved as far as the way he died. Even though we didn't actually see it, but we know he's dead.
Benny's
So,
death is all sorts of effed up. There's no question about it.
yeah.
But the way they set it up and execute it, I admit that was a cool scene.
Oh, it was a fucking one of the best. That was probably the best. That was definitely the one of the best scenes in the movie. But like I said, the creep factor with the scares, like,
It kind of reminded me of Disney's Jungle Book from like the early like 2000s.
You mean from 1994. 94.
94. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't know
the
what
ending
so I
scene
remember.
with the ending scene with Ka, where Ka just snakes into the room and kills the bad guy.
Ah,
But That being said,
I haven't seen that movie in years.
Me neither. Since
Me
probably
neither.
the 90s.
well, it doesn't have a proper DVD. Well, it doesn't have a proper Blu-ray release, actually.
Right.
Well, that would have stopped me from watching it.
Was that everything for you, Ron?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, as for me, there are so many little moments that some of them are hilarious. Some, again, the scene where Benny gets it, it's not one of my favorites. It's creepy as hell, but I love the way they set it up. Like you have the door after door after door, and he's trapped in the treasury, and then you start hearing the bugs, and like his source of light just gutters and gets smaller and smaller, and then it goes out, and it's like, oh man, they set that up so good. It was a good scene. And there were a few others like that. One scene we talked a little bit, but I had forgotten about one great part of it. I love the part where Evie and the warden, Hassan, are haggling over the percentage. I love that part. But we forgot to mention a part earlier in that scene that was great. It's the hangman is getting Rick ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, any last requests, pig?
Yeah, let me know.
Not let me go. And the hangman says something to the warden, and the warden yells back, and of course we don't let him go.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious myself. I forgot myself. It was definitely like, yeah, that would be the last request that you'd want. Yeah, let me go. You know, and it's funny how the one, he was like, well, should we let him go? This is the last request. Because you're supposed to grant a last request.
I just love that the hangman asked.
Yeah, it was definitely hilarious. It was hilarious that he said it, and then even funnier that the hangman was like, "Hey, should we?"
And there were a few other little moments, like just great comedic moments.
Oh, his neck did break.
And then again, my favorite line though is probably when Evie's like, "I am a librarian." You know, I just love that. It's great. And you know, so there were some great moments scattered throughout. You know, visual cues. Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm just looking right now. The trailer showed that scene that Tammy brought up earlier, where the mirrors are put into place, and when they come into effect, when the light hits and it lights up the whole room, there were some really cool visual things that they did in this one. So that was pretty fun. As far as characters, it's hard to say. Evie is the likely choice because I just really like the character. She is incredibly good looking, but she's also just a really smart, fun, interesting character. Rick and Jonathan are fun. Benny is the character you love to hate. But you know, he's such a sneaky little shit. You just can't help but root for him somehow. And then I would even say the warden and Captain Winston Havelock, they have very small roles relative to the others, but when they're on screen, they're very amusing. They're very they add to the scenes they're in. So it's hard. And like I said, Evie is probably my favorite, but this was one that had almost an embarrassment of fun characters, which is cool. You know, it's the kind of thing you like to see in a movie like this. But anyway, I think that about does her, unless anyone has any final thoughts.
And I know.
Okay. Well, all right then. I know before we start outros, Brandon couldn't make it tonight. So, Dave, are you going to give us the intro into next month, I guess? Do you have that ahead on hand?
No, I actually do not. I'm not
Okay.
sure of the uh, order of things as far as that. I'll have to ask Brandon for that later.
Well, I know we're doing Animation April, and we've got some fun stuff lined up. So I guess, folks, tune in next week for a surprise.
Yeah.
But,
With working and all that
Like,
jazz,
oh,
just, Brandon just didn't tell me the lineup.
Right.
So, yeah, let's go into our outros. So, Forrest, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. My name is Forrest Bennett. I'm an independent film producer and actor based in Long Island, New York. Got a new movie out called Camp Blood 666 Part 2, Exorcism of the Clown. That's now out on DVD. I also have another movie coming out, Amityville Turkey Day. That's coming this fall. And then another movie, Bring on the Damned from Trauma. I also recently recorded did some work on another Trauma movie called Curse of the Weredeer. I'll probably give more info on that as it comes out. And then I'm also on a show. You can also catch me on a show called here in New York called Under the Radar, where we review and discuss newer movies and TV shows. We recently paired up with the Nostalgia Time with Kid Champagne podcast. We've got a new episode coming out on Dick Tracy. And you can also find me on Instagram under My Name Is Not Gump, where I do comic book pickups. I've always got something going on in the pipeline.
Okay. Heading over to you, Crow. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what to do? Or what you do.
well, my nickname is alias is Kroll. My name's Ron. I also have been how to make my own business and be an affiliate marketer, and I'm really enjoying that. It's fun. I say if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life, and I'm finding that to be true because I just enjoy doing it. It's really fun. Looking forward to doing more of the work, and I've never looked forward to going to work before. So that's something new, and I come to this podcast, and of course the one on Sunday, and talk about the movies we watch, and I always enjoy doing that as well. I don't really have a lot of time to watch TV shows and movies outside of these because, like I said, I would choose to use my time to learn about what I'm trying to do and to implement what I'm learning. So I'll be able to watch shows and movies again later on, but for now, just taking a break from watching extra stuff. I like video games as well. I also taking a break from most of the video games, only playing a couple right now for the same reasons. So just trying to be goal orientated at the moment. And I don't have my own YouTube channel at the moment, but I am around. But I will be having YouTube because I need one for business. So I'll be having one for that. And I do have a Facebook, and I now have an Instagram, and I also have a Twitter, and all that other stuff that I never even heard of half of them before, but I now have them all.
Alrighty.
By the way, we just got a message from Brandon. It looks like our first movie for Animation April will be 1996's Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yep.
Cool.
And then we have Batman, the Dark Knight, which is
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, the Dark Knight Returns, which evidently we're covering both movies in one. And then Black Cauldron and Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll.
Good
Those
times.
are the lineup for next month.
What an assortment.
So stay tuned for some exciting
And again, the movies get picked.
And then heading over to you, Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm your fiance. I go on this um, podcast and another one on Sunday and talk about movies and listen to everybody else's opinions. And I collect myself, and I just really enjoy my time with everybody, and looking forward to spring whenever it gets here since we keep having snow. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Barely
we
get
just
more
we
snow
just here in Wisconsin had over 10 inches of snow over the weekend.
here. Damn.
Mhm.
We had 60, 70-degree days here.
Well,
So
share us with some of your weather. Quit hogging it. But let's go over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, you could keep your snow because it would actually do me a great deal of harm at this point. My name is Kotobuki Jake. I'm the co-host of Septum Sim versus the World, a physical media channel where we typically do physical media stuff, pickups, reviews, and whatnot. There's a little bit of a hiatus going on right now. My co-host Brandon, well, he couldn't be here tonight either. He's not being able to do as much of that right now, but neither am I really, because we're heading into a busy freaking period going on right now. But we will be doing an anime discussion tomorrow, focusing on a movie called Pompo the Cinephile. So that'll be fun. You can also check out our recent discussion on the series Karine. It's probably the main thing that we're doing right now on the channel is the anime anticlimax series. Meanwhile, I am a very, very busy person. Ron, I agree with your statement, except that while I enjoy what I do it all the freaking time. I don't get days off. So that does make it feel a little bit like work. But in addition to working and not as a librarian, I'm not that skilled according to what's on the paper. I work with librarians, let's put it that way. And it keeps me very, 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 very busy. But on the days off, I am the co-founder and an owning partner of RVA Homegrown Natives, which is a native plant nursery. We had our first week of the season this year, this last week. And between our wholesale and our first market of the season, we are already just about out of stock and scrambling to get more stock in place. So it's going to be a busy couple weeks trying to get all that stock ready. And all the more so because I'm gearing up to actually give an official public address. I have done speaking engagements before, but never one that came complete with a bio and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be talking in a couple weeks for the Virginia Native Plant Society, and that's going to be fun. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on, very busy.
It's still
And it
cool.
was up.
It's still kind of cool.
Yeah, but like I said, y'all can keep your snow because it would throw a nice big wrench in the procedure. And obviously, I do make some time for viewing, and I like to come on with these fine folks and talk movies on this discussion. And I rather enjoyed our Universal Monsters tour, and I kind of next month will have its highs and lows, and but I look forward to it. It'll be interesting.
Okay. And my name is David Striggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with us on this fantastic journey that we've been having. We I believe have now covered all the at least the initial, the essential Universal monster films on our channel. So if you get a chance, go back and check out some of those older episodes and get yourself up to speed. I think we have quite a selection for you to listen to. And if you haven't seen the movie, The Mummy, go out and see it because it is phenomenal. At least for those who see it for the first time. And if you get a chance, let us know down in the comments whether you thought our conversation for it was a decent listen or whatnot. But like, share, and subscribe. I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I do something similar on Sundays. In fact, we are going to be talking about a film that Antonio Banderas is in called The 13th Warrior. So keep a lookout for that discussion. It's going to be a blast. In our last discussion, we covered The Northman, which is a Viking battle of efforts by Robert Eggers. So check out that if you get a chance. And I also do some video pickups and video reviews from time to time. So definitely like, share, and subscribe to that channel as well. And let us know what you think of everything. But on that note, everyone say good night, and we'll see you back next week.
Good night. We'll see you back next
Good night.
All right, see you next week.